I would say ditto to that, and I am in support of women being required to register for selective service. We have fought so long and hard to be treated as equals when it comes to the combat arms. And roughly 6 years or so ago, combat arms were open to females. As long as you meet the standard required by that branch of service, you should be allowed to participate. Because we are asking for equal opportunity within the military structure, we also should expect that of our young women across the United States. And God forbid that we ever have a draft again. We hope that never, ever happens. I want to continue to see a strong all-volunteer force, but to think that we would only send women picked by the draft to the front lines to fight in infantry units. I think that's what a lot of America thinks of when they think about the draft. But I know full well that a woman could certainly, although she could choose to serve in the infantry if she met the standard, she could also choose to serve in a cyber unit where she is sitting behind lines where she's safe, but certainly working to disrupt the enemy. All of these jobs are important.
Yeah.
And
she might be a pilot. She might be a doctor. She might be the military has every job under the sun. And
she could be a truck driver.
Yes, she could be doing supply chain, which Joni's an expert on.
But yeah, so we're disappointed.
And we need more of all those skills. We need more of them. But let me make a larger point about the process. You know, these two provisions are among quite a number that have just disappeared after we voted for them. And it wasn't just kind of a snap judgment. We actually, on the Armed Services Committee, we sit for days, literally full days, behind closed doors, deliberating, debating all of these provisions. The justice provisions of the NDAA are the result of lengthy and elaborate conversation, debate within our committee.
And hearings, multiple hearings over many years.
So the question really is, what happened? What happened to the democratic process here? And for me, it emphasizes the importance of the vote we take at the beginning of every armed services markup. We close the doors. Now, I have voted consistently to keep those doors open. The argument always is, oh, you know, it reduces the time necessary for debate. It's, you know, we don't have to go selectively into confidential or classified settings for one issue or another. But here's the result, that the American people aren't seeing the deliberative process. And so I think there's a need for more transparency so the American people understand the reasons why we wanted these provisions in the bill and why the vote was overwhelmingly bipartisan in favor of them. This is not a partisan issue as you gathered here. None of these issues we've been discussing or the others that were deleted from the bill were kind of partisan party line votes. They were really the result of consensus.
Since the whim of the chairman and the ranking member.
Apparently.
There was a report that the selective service provision was traded for the military justice reforms that did get into the bill. Is that your understanding of what happened?
We wouldn't know because that
we're not part
happened
of that trading.
somewhere else.
We can speculate like you, but we weren't there. We weren't in the room.
And if that's the case, that's an outrage since since the military justice provisions that were included were extremely limited.
And this is not we're not here to criticize the chairman or the ranking member. It's the process really that maybe needs some review.
Senator Lorraine, when I spoke to you previously, you said basically...
Yeah, thanks, Joni. Take care.
It's going to come down to the 4 people in the room that are going to determine whether or not this gets in the bill.
Yes.
So was it them or was it the DOD?
Well, I think it's the 4 people in the room that make the decision. But the DOD is extremely effective in misleading members of Congress, in writing language for staff, in assuring members that when it says the special victims prosecutors are independent and their decisions are binding, that somehow convening authority doesn't mean anything. It's shocking that members of Congress wouldn't realize that makes those words of independent and binding irrelevant and meaningless, because the convening authority has the authority over so many aspects of the trial. So I don't know who's responsible, but I know that the four corners of the conference committee have the ultimate authority and decision-making power. And whether they were misled or don't fully understand it or just intentionally don't like these reforms, those are questions you have to ask them.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.